r/confessions. Sit back, relax and enjoy this video. My father and stepmother divorced because of me and a Nintendo charger. First, I just want to say thanks for the fact that nobody in my family has read it, because if they saw this post, old scars would be reopened. So when I was 9, my father introduced us this woman and her 2 sons. He said that this would be me, and my brother and sister, new family. They got married soon and we all moved together into a new house. My father and mom are divorced and I, at first, only saw him every other weekend. Eventually I moved in with him, but that's another story. We became kind of friends with the sons, and because there was nothing to do in the new town we moved in, we were always playing together either outside or with the new DSi that Nintendo had just launched. However, my new stepmom always kind of hated me for some reason. She was always trying to start shit with me, accusing me of like eating more than my fair share, or that I was a disobedient child or whatever. She was also always pushing me or pulling my hair when my dad wasn't looking, and because I didn't want to have a worst atmosphere there already I didn't say anything. Boy, if only I knew at this time, I would frick up the atmosphere permanently later. I guess some of you know the drill of divorced family. Sunday afternoon and you're all playing Mario Kart on your Ds, and then you have to quickly clean your stuff because you got to go home to your mom's house. Well, that's what I did, and honestly I just put all my stuff in my bag without really looking at whatever was inside. Then a few days passes, I'm at my mom's, everything is fine, and I receive a call from my dad, which was highly unusual. He tells me he called to ask if I saw or took some Nintendo charger, because they have looked everywhere and can't find it. Now, I was a lazy kid and my bag wasn't stored yet, so I just told him no, I didn't. He says okay. But this story was on my mind, so I decided to look inside my bag, and while cleaning up my belongings, what the frick do I see? Not only one Nintendo charger but fricking 2. And one of these wasn't mine. Of course, after that I told myself that I should obviously tell my dad that I accidentally took the charger, but after much thinking I decided not to, because my stepmother would most likely use this incident against me and life would have even more sucked at my dad, so I hid the charger. Little did I know that this harmless incident was making my stepmom literally enraged. She was absolutely convinced it was me, granted it was, and tried by all means to get a confession from me, and when I said nothing, she started to involve other person in the story. So my mom was asked to look into my room to see if I had the charger, but I hid the little bastard too well, and when she said that she had looked everywhere and I didn't have the damn charger, stepmom didn't believe her. So she called my grandparents to complain about me, and soon enough, everybody in my freaking family was involved. I'm talking about not only my dad's side but my stepmoms and moms as well. Most of these people didn't even know what Nintendo was, even less what a Nintendo charger looked like, but suddenly they were all involved in this. I honestly think it was an accurate representation of how people acted during the witch hunt. Everyone accusing each other, snooping through each other's crap and digging up old stories. It was kinda funny. What was less funny was that after a month of this, me and my siblings were told that we couldn't go to my dad this weekend because he had to sort stuff out. This continued for at least 2 months, and when he finally came to get us one day, we saw that he was in a new apartment. Apparently, he and my stepmom were fighting so much because of me, and mostly because of the Nintendo charger, that they decided to divorce because they couldn't stand each other anymore. Now, knowing that I was probably the cause of this divorce and that I would have been able to stop all that simple by telling the truth, do I feel guilty? No. Because she was really horrible. But I also feel kinda bad for my stepbrother who will never see his charger back. I don't see the point in being healthy, obviously. There is a flaw in my logic. Just because I am unhealthy doesn't mean I'll die. I could just be making it harder on myself later in life and become miserable when my bones break and I piss myself daily or something. I do understand that possibility. Recently, my husband has started limiting my Monster Energy drink consumption to once a week, which, 90% of the time, was all I had anyway. But sometimes my husband has trouble keeping track of numbers, like he'll think something that happened months ago was yesterday, or, in this case, that the 3 times I've had Monster twice a week in the past 4 months was actually 3 weeks in a row. He said they are damaging for my health and he wants to make sure I live for a while and not have a heart attack in 2 years. Which I understand but partially disagree with only because he's being a hypocrite. I won't really get into how because it makes him sound suicidal and a risk to himself when he's not. He just doesn't want to grow old when his body is already collapsing on him as is, but I assure you, he's not actively killing himself in any way except for smoking, which I have thrown his face and he says yeah but that'll kill me when I'm 60. Anyway, this isn't a rant about him being a dumb. I've suffered with depression for 10 years. As far as I know, it could have been longer. So, like a lot of people, I kind of indulge to find happiness, an almost you only live once mentality but more along the lines of why take care of myself to live longer when, in doing so, I'm making my life not worth living by taking away the things that make life enjoyable. I cut out coffee, but then I'm less happy because I'm not doing what I want, and, theoretically I'll live 3 more years, but that's 3 more years without coffee. I'm not saying I'm inhibitionless, that I want to drink coffee and do nothing with my life because I want to live how I want to. I have hobbies and skills and aspirations. I still have goals and things I want to accomplish. Me living life how I want isn't sitting on the couch playing games all day. And again, I'm not saying I want to die with or without indulging in chips. I just don't want to waste life doing things I don't want to do, or, more accurately, avoiding doing things I do want to do. I want to eat those chips. I want to travel. I want to pet a dog, etc etc. I don't care if I live 1 more year or 100. I just want to live every day enjoying what makes me happy. I just wanted to get this off my chest even though it's stupid. It's come up a few times when I talked about my eating habits with my best friend. I am not fat or anything. It wasn't a weight thing. It was a legit health concern, etc. So I felt like ranting because it seems like I'm the only one who feels this way when it feels so logical to me. Like, the way it should be. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. Do what makes you happy, unless it hurts others. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. My bad trip is still scaring me. Long story short, me and a friend took a 2CB pill, a mixture of acid and ecstasy, each, and I had the worst trip of my life. This wasn't the first time I'd taken a 2CB and I'd experimented with hallucinogenic drugs multiple times before. We got the pills from a friend. He warned us that they had been in his car for a long time, but I didn't think that would affect them too much. About 2 hours after taking them I started seeing your classic trippy crap, but I had a totally overwhelming feeling of anxiety and dread. I panicked as I felt my heart rate speed up dramatically. I threw up due to this panic, which just made everything worse. My mind was going a million miles an hour, and everything that came into my head was bad. I felt myself going insane. I knew if I cried or allowed myself to have a panic attack it would trigger a total psychological break. I can't even put into words how it felt. It was this feeling of impending doom and depression. The hallucinations, visual and auditory, were too much. I imagine that is what sensory overload felt like. I lay in my bed, in the dark, and tried to sleep, but my mind wouldn't stop bringing everything bad into my head. It was honestly the worst experience of my life. After what felt like hours, but was only 1, I started to calm down and was able to slightly relax. My friend had been fine this whole time and was enjoying her trip. It scared me how totally detached from reality I was during the trip. Absolutely nothing felt real and I was genuinely in an entirely different headspace, like my brain was working in a different way. I was used to this from other trips, but it had never been this deep before. But now I always feel like I'm on the edge of going back to that place of fear and horror. I'm scared for anything to go wrong in case it sends me back there. It's terrifying. I'm anxious all the time and I feel as if this will never go away. I found it very hard to explain the exact feeling, so apologies for the slightly pathetic attempt. The moral of the story is remember it's just the drugs. This was the only thing that stopped me spinning out completely and doing something crazy. Never do drugs when you are not in a comfortable environment and especially if you are not in the correct headspace. I think this is where I faltered. Be safe people, happy tripping. Oh, you survived. Now sub. Please.